dirty. Since that sweet sleep he had forgotten all about his master, the Harthorver place, and the little white girl, and all that had happened to him when he lived before. And what was best of all, he had forgotten all the bad words which he had learned from the Grimes and the rude boys with whom he used to play. That was not strange, for you know, when you come into this world and become a land baby, you remember nothing. So why should he when he became a water baby? Then have you lived before? My dear child, who can tell? One can only tell that by remembering something which happened where we lived before. And as we remember nothing, we know nothing about it, and no book and no man can ever tell us certainly. There was a wise man once, a very wise man, a very good man, who wrote a poem about feelings, which some children have about living before, and this is what he said. Our birth is but a sleep and forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life's star, hath elsewhere had its setting, and cometh from afar. Not entire forgetfulness, and not in utter nakedness, but trailing clouds of glory do we come from God, who is our home. There you can know no more than that. If I were you, I would believe that, for then the great fairy Science, who will likely be queen of all fairies for many years to come, can only do you good and never do you harm, and instead of fancying that your body makes your soul, as if a steam engine could make its own coke, or some people that your soul has nothing to do with your body, that it's only stuck in it like a pin or a pin cushion to fall out at the first shake, you will believe the one true, orthodox, inductive, rational, deductive, philosophical, seductive, logical, productive, irrefragable, salutary, nominalistic, realistic, and on all accounts to be received doctrine of this wonderful fairy tale, which is that your soul makes your body just as a snail makes his shell for the rest. And it is enough for us to be sure that whenever or not we lived before, we shall live again, though not, I hope, as poor little heathen Tom did, for he went downward into the water. But we, I hope, shall go upward to a different place. But Tom was very happy in the water. He had been sadly overworked in the land world, and so now, to make up for that, he had nothing but holidays in the water world for a long time to come. And he had nothing to do now but enjoy himself and look at all the pretty things which were to be seen in the cool, clear water world, where the sun was never too hot and the frost never too cold. And what did he live on? Watercresses, perhaps, or perhaps water gruel or water milk, or too many land babies do so likewise. Sometimes we went along the smooth gravel waterways looking at the crickets which ran in and out among the stones, as rabbits do on land, or he climbed over the edges of the rocks and saw the sandpipes hanging in the thousands, with one of a pretty little head and legs peeping out. Or he went to a still corner and watched the caddis eating dead stick as greedily as you would eat plum pudding, and building their house with silk glue. Very fanciful ladies were, none of them would keep up the same materials for a day. I don't know what that means. One would begin with some pebbles, then she would stick up a piece of green wood, and then she found a shell and stuck it in two, and the poor shell was alive and did not like it at all being built into a house. But the Katies did not let him have any voice in the matter, being rude and selfish, as vain people are apt to be, and then she stuck on a piece of rotten wood, then very smart pink stone, and so on, until she was patched all over like an Irishman's coat. Then she found a long straw, 5 times as long as herself, and said, "Hurrah, my sister has a tail, and I will have one too." And she stuck it on her back and marched about with it quite proudly, though it was very inconvenient indeed. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what a cassid is. Then sometimes he came to a deep, still reach, and there he saw the water forest. They would have looked to you like only little weeds, but Tom, you must remember, was so little that everything looked 100 times as big to him as it does to you, just as things do minnow. Things do to a minnow. who sees and catches the little water creatures only as you see in a microscope. In the water forest, he saw water monkeys and water squirrels. They had all 6 legs, though. Everything almost has 6 legs in the water, except alfs and water babies. And, nimbly enough, they ran among the branches. There were water flowers there, too, in the thousands, and Tom tried to pick them, but as soon as he touched them, they drew themselves in and turned into knots of jelly, and then Tom saw that they were all alive, bells and stars and wheels and flowers and all beautiful shapes and colors, and all alive and busy, just as Tom was. He found that there was a great deal more in the world than he had fancied at first sight. And there was one wonderful little fellow, too, who peeped out from the top of a house built on round bricks. He had 2 big wheels, one little one, all over teeth, spinning around and round like wheels on a threshing machine, and Tom stood and stared at him, seeing what he was doing with his machinery. And what do you think he was doing? Brick-making. With his 2 big wheels, he swept together all the mud which floated in the water and all that was nice in it, and he put it into his stomach. He ate it, and all the mud he put into a little wheel on his breast, which really was just a round hole set with teeth, and there he spun it into a neat, hard, round brick, and then he took it and stuck it to the top of his house wall and set to work to make another. Now, was he not a clever little fellow? Tom thought so, but when he wanted to talk to the brickmaker, he was much too busy to notice him. Now you must know that all things under the water talk, not only a strange language as ours, not such a strange language as ours, but as horses and dogs and cows and birds talk to each other, and Tom soon learned to understand them and talk to them, but that he might have had very company if he only had been a good boy. But I am sorry to say he was not like some other boys, very fond of tormenting creatures for mere sport. Oh, no, he was too like other little boys. He was fond of tormenting creatures for mere sport. Some people say that boys cannot help it, and that's their nature, and the only proof that they were all originally descended from beasts of prey. But whether it's nature or not, little boys can help it and must help it, for they have naughty, mischievous tricks in their nature, as monkeys have. That is no reason why they should give away those tricks like monkeys who know no better, and therefore we must not torment dumb creatures. If they do, a certain old lady who is coming will surely give them exactly what they deserve. I think it's the writer of this book. But Tom did not know that, and he pecked and he honked the poor water things about sadly till they were all afraid of him and got out of his way, and he crept into their shell, so he had no one to speak or to play with. The water fairies were sorry to see him so unhappy, and longed to take him and tell him how naughty he was and teach him to be good and play and romp with him too, but they had been forbidden to do that. Tom had to learn a lesson for himself, by sound and sharp experience, as many foolish person has to do, though there may be a kind heart yearning over them for all the while, and longing to teach them what only they can teach themselves. At last one day he found a caddis, who wanted it to peep out of its house, but its house door was shut, and he had never seen a caddis with a house door shut before, so what must he do, the meddlesome little fellow, but pull it open to see what the poor lady was doing inside, and what a shame! How should you like to have anyone breaking into your bedroom door in to see how you looked when you were in bed? So Tom broke to pieces the door, which was the prettiest little grating of silk, stuck all over with shining bits of crystal, and when he looked in, the caddis poked out her head, and it had turned in just the shape of a bird's. But when Tom spoke to her, she could not answer, for her mouth and her face were tied up with a new nightcap of neat pink silk. However, if she didn't answer, all the other caddies did, for they held up their hands and shrieked like cats. "Oh, you nasty, horrid boy! There you are at it again!" And she had just laid herself up for a fortnight's sleep, and then she would have come out with such beautiful wings and flown about and laid such lots of eggs, and now you have broken her door, and she can't mend it because her mouth is tied up for a fortnight, and she will die. Who sent you here to worry us out of our lives? So Tom swam away, and he was very much ashamed of himself, and felt all the naughtier, as little boys do when they have done wrong and won't say so. That's the end of the book. I don't really like this one that much. There's one picture. I don't think that this is a cadus. I'm not actually sure if he's underwater with a water baby, another water baby who used to be a girl. I don't know. But anyway, that was a weird story. I might read you another one. Okay, goodbye.